Good day, everyone. I am Dr. Jan Vincent A. PAGADDU, all the way from the Philippines. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to the heads and organizers of the Global Edu-Conclave 2021 for inviting me to be a keynote speaker in this prestigious event. So, for today, I would like to promote green research towards a greener environment and sustainable development. Research is a potentially strategic tool that could serve as an environmental advocacy to attain sustainable development. And in this day, we are going to explore how this is possible. Actually, each of us could contribute to the attainment of our goal to achieve sustainable development. We all just have to subscribe and uphold our defining principles. Whichever philosophy or principles you align yourself, what is important is to use it to contribute to the attainment of a better environment and a better future. So I urge you to use your environmental principles to address multiple environmental issues that our generation is currently facing. Today, we face multiple crises, and these crises are actually interrelated such that they result in a bigger crisis, a global crisis. So what are these environmental problems that we now face? So we have population growth, we have unsustainable use of resources, we also have destruction and degradation of wildlife habitats, extinction of species, and widening gap between the rich and the poor, as well as population or pollution problems. Also, at the moment, the environment is not spared in the negative impacts of the present COVID-19 pandemic. And also, all of these environmental problems have resulted in to a global clamor. And these problems are connected to the social dimension of development. The anthropogenic activities are actually the culprit of these long haul problems. As such, it is important for us to do something to make social dimension, economic growth, and the environment coexist. We must not deplete our natural capital. Let's not get too greedy if we don't want to be needy soon. So in this talk, I would like to share to you the context of the tragedy of the commons. So this theory refers to a situation in which individuals with access to a shared resource, also called a common, act in their own interest, and in doing so, ultimately deplete the resource. More so, this theory explains the individual's tendency to make the best decisions for their own personal interest, regardless of the negative impacts that they may have on others. Let's take this river, for example. As the global population grows, well, we know that the food supply needs to increase just as quickly. However, overhunting and overfishing have the potential to push many species in the river into extinction. This not only endangers the state of the river and the biodiversity in that river, but also risks further pollution on the body of water. Also, these individual actions, the overfishing, overhunting, and even throwing garbages into the river, may actually lead to a cumulative effect and may further exhaust or ruin the resources, and for that matter, the river. If this happens, then nobody can use it anymore. So much so that tragedy may occur. So that means it may lead to hunger and poverty. So it is evident nowadays that due to the rapid population increase and numerous anthropogenic activities, the water quality in several rivers in many countries had been greatly affected as these water bodies become highly polluted. In fact, in the Philippines, 180 out of 421 identified rivers have been identified to be biologically dead. So, in light of that perspective, I, together with my group mates, conducted a research in 2012 and focused on assessing the water quality of a river or one of the rivers in the Philippines. That river is a major concern for the local people because the river provides the local residents with livelihood, water for irrigation, drinking, as well as other domestic purposes. Unfortunately, all the study sites of the river was observed to be exposed to organic pollution. Because of this, we urged the local government as well as the local residents to take good care of their river and to do continuous monitoring as necessary. These things are just some of the factors that could affect our railway towards sustainable development. But what is sustainable development anyway? Well, it is defined as development that meets the need of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. In short, sustainable development is a development that lasts and continuing. There are three core elements that serve as determinants of sustainable development. So those are your society, environment, and economy. These core elements are interconnected such that if we align them together and treat each equally and equitably, then we would be able to achieve a sustainable development. Most of the time, it is the environment, which is usually extensively and actually disregarded. This environmental apathy resulted in the worsening condition of our environment. Nonetheless, it is not yet too late to act. We could still work together to achieve our common goal. We could become advocates of the environment in our own little way. Through environmental advocacy, we could influence public policy in social, economic, political, as well as cultural spheres in order to bring about justice and positive change in human rights as well as environmental issues at large. Through environmental advocacy, we protect both the public from environmental hazards and the natural world. Our advocacy could be in any forms. It could be in the form of projects, policies, or better yet, in the form of research. In 2012, I built up an environmental art project in Tuguegarao City in the Philippines, in which I used art therapy as a tool in enhancing the environmental awareness of the children and in empowering the youth. In 2015, I, together with my fellow doctors, conducted a study that concerns the effect of air pollution towards human health. This research rooted from the thought that when the air becomes unhealthy, a plethora of complications may arise and may affect not only the ecological wealth of a certain country, but most especially the health of its people. So the main purpose of the study was to determine the risk factors of the genotoxic effects of automobile exhaust exposure among the motorized tricycle drivers of the Tuguegarao City in the Philippines. So in this study, majority of the sample population had a substantial exposure to automobile exhaust. In fact, 60% of the respondents had been in the transport industry as tricycle drivers for more than 10 years. And also, all of the respondents worked more than 6 hours a day. While this is true, it was found out that only a few of the tricycle drivers took vitamin supplements and wore protective masks. And majority of them were cigarette smokers and alcoholic beverage drinkers. So when we examined the exfoliated buccal cells, we found out that 76% of the study participants tested positive for micronuclei. And out of all the factors tested, it was only automobile exhaust exposure which was found to be a risk factor towards development of a cytogenetic damage in a person. Meanwhile, vitamin supplementation was found to be a significant protective factor in lowering the mean frequency of micronuclei and as a protective factor against cytogenetic damage. The results of this study significantly revealed that lesser exposure to automobile exhaust as well as more frequent intake of vitamins, are associated with a reduced risk of developing cytogenetic damage among workers of the transport industry. Therefore, access to improved air sanitation as well as health education should be prioritized along with preventive measures such as vitamins and wearing of protective masks to achieve a durable reduction of the effects of automobile exhaust exposure. We did not stop just we did not stop to just recording the data. Rather, we conducted a health education to the study participants. With our action plan, we were able to educate the drivers regarding the effects of automobile exhaust, smoking, and drinking of alcoholic beverages to their health. Also, we customized protective masks and gave it to them. In this way, we hoped that our research have contributed to the durable reduction of the global burden brought about by the effects of air pollution. So you see, research are not just descriptions. They are not just write-ups. Research could serve as environmental advocacy for sustainable development. Through this, we are not just saving the earth. We are indeed saving our lives and the lives of the future generation. After all, we are part of the environment. Hence, green research promotes a greener environment and a sustainable development. Maraming salamat po at magandang araw. Thank you everyone and have a good day. Let's rise against apathy.